Web application firewalls, or WAFs, are one of the types of shields that you can put in front of your application. I don't know if any of you have seen Star Trek, but I really like it. And when they are in a spaceship or any of the sci-fi space shows, they'll always say, "Shields up." And then you sort of see this like invisible shield that goes around the ship, and then people shoot whatever torpedoes or phasers or whatever it is that they do in whatever show you're watching. And then they're like, "Oh, our shields are only at 80%, etc." And that's what I always think of when I think of a WAF or a RASP, is that you're putting this shield in front of your app. And just like those ones in shows, they're not perfect, so they miss things sometimes. However, the way a WAF works, a first generation WAF, so there's first generation, and then some people will say next generation, or they'll say RASP, a runtime application security protection tool. However, I need to say that RASP and WAF work very, very differently. That's why they have different entries in this course. And that's why, anyway, there's a lot of different wording that people use in our industry. And so sometimes people will call a RASP a third generation WAF, or they'll say our WAF has AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning. I'm like, yeah, but is it a binary that I need to instrument and put inside my app? Or is it something I put on the load balancer at the edge of the network? And they're like, oh, it's at the edge of the network. Okay, so you're selling me a WAF. So I really want you to be able to understand the difference, because I want you to be able to choose the right one for your org, not because one is right and one is wrong. So a WAF is a giant set of regular expressions. And every time someone sends input to your web app, it puts the input through the regular expressions, or the rule set, as it is called. And then those either get through or they fail, and they're marked, that looks like an attack, no. How do you do a WAF? So you would install a WAF usually, if you're a really tiny company and you're doing things a bit old school and on smaller scale, you might install it directly on the web server with your app. But usually it's put on a load balancer because it's a big, huge thing and it has to handle a lot of stuff. WAF and RASP both have latency. That means it slows stuff down. I've heard that WAFs slow things down more than a RASP. However, it depends on who you're talking to and if they are a person that works for one of those vendors, or if they're a person who have bought both tools. It's rare that you get to talk to someone who's actually implemented both kinds and been able to actually cross-compare. So take the latency claims with a grain of salt and instead test for yourself to make sure it's acceptable for you. So a WAF, like I said, is usually installed on a load balancer or something like that, and it has a bunch of regular expressions or a rule set as per se. The tighter you make those rules, the more safe your application is, but that means there's more latency, but more importantly, it might block legit business requests. If you block a sale, people in your entire org are gonna flip out. You having a false positive on a WAF and blocking a legit business request will make everyone furious with you. So what often happens is you'll install a WAF and you'll just have it block the super obvious things. And what happens then is, you're protected against really obvious attacks, but your code should be good enough to defend against those things. What I see a lot in production is people have a WAF and it's just set to alerting. So it'll tell you this looks bad, that looks bad, that looks bad, that looks bad. And then you have to go and investigate, but it's too late then, right? And you also can't necessarily jump up from your desk and run and go investigate at that exact moment. Maybe you're in a meeting, maybe you're sleeping, right? And so I've seen it a lot where they buy one and it's just an alerting. A lot of types of WAFs, if you want to turn on a rule, it goes on with all the other ones. And if you have it in blocking, that means it's blocking on that rule now. There's some WAFs you can buy where you can say these rules are blocking, these rules are just alerting. That's perfect. If you're going to get a WAF, you want one that can do that. So you can try out a rule for quite a while and see if it's good or not. Make sure it's not blocking any legit requests, and then turn it on to blocking, but not all of them can do that. So you really need to be sure. On top of that, with a WAF, I already told you, please don't consider WAF as your first line of defense instead of writing good code. That's not okay. A WAF is used for apps that are mission critical and really, really important, and they absolutely cannot be attacked because there's super sensitive information in them. Or because you protect all of your applications with a WAF because you feel all of them are high priority. Or most commonly, because you have 27 apps and 2 of them keep you up at night and they haven't been updated and they're using old technologies, and you know there's a bunch of vulnerabilities in them, and you can't get those teams to do those things because whatever reason. And I don't mean that the people that work on those teams are doing a bad job. I mean, there's legit business reasons that they can't do the thing, and you know that it's insecure. And so you're like, I'm going to compromise with you from a security perspective, and I'm going to put a WAF in front of it. But I still want you to fix it. A WAF is never ever a replacement for writing good code. And I know that I sound like I think I'm your mom. I'm sorry. Let me give you an example of a whole bunch of different types of web application firewalls that you can consider if you need one. Mod security by OWASP. That is the original WAF. WAFs were invented by OWASP as an open source project. And the rules for the mod security WAF are called the core rule sets, and both of which are OWASP projects, and they are completely free. The rest of these are not free. F5, Essential App Protect. Signal Sciences. They have a first generation WAF and a RASP. Cloudflare WAF. Akamai Conosite Defender. MS Azure Web App Firewall. Barracuda Web App Firewall. Imperva Cloud WAF. Fortinet. Securi Web App Firewall. StackPath WAF. ProPhase WAF. AppTrana Managed WAF. And WordFence. I have WordFence on wehackpurple.com. We have WordFence, and it is a WordPress WAF. Am I saying it's better than the rest of them? No, it's the one that our team told us to get. It is an extra added layer of security because we want to do defense in depth. It's not a replacement for a secure app. And with that, in the next video, we're going to look at RASP, the other kind of shield that you can put for your app.